I'm assuming that's a yes. Because of course, Zoom decides to shift everything around and move people and all that kind of craziness. So there we go. See, we're still letting people in. This is unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Can everybody see my screen okay then still? Awesome. Great. Thank you. Um, so what I am, um, what was I going to say? Okay. So if you haven't already done so and you want a sandbox, you can go to this website here. I put this into the meetup already, and I know a couple of people had registered um, for a test account. This is because I am a big proponent of people not making live changes like this on their website. So I highly recommend that if you do not have a staging site, that you can go directly to this, register for the course that I have there, and you can then get a site, uh, just a dummy site that you can sign into. And we'll talk about all that fun stuff in a moment or so. All right. All right. So does anybody have any questions before we get underway? I'll do a bit of housekeeping first, if that's okay. And then, and of course, Rudy, if you have anything you want to throw in there, by all means, I will definitely go with that. So welcome to the WordPress Hamilton Meetup. We are happy to have you here. We have, I think, reached the highest number of attendees that we've ever had, at least online, probably even in person. So I thank you for coming. This is our first meetup of 2021. By the sounds of it, the official word from WordCamp Central is that they will be doing all of their 2021 camps virtually. So they will all be done online, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we won't do the meetups, but for the foreseeable, this is how we're doing it. If you, probably most of you, if not all of you, came through meetup.com, which is sort of our primary place for scheduling and that kind of thing, through, so that we can schedule meetups and things like that. We are always looking for new speakers. Okay, so there is a place on there where you can submit to speak. We ask that you give us some detail about where to speak. I know that we had about 2, but that's about all we've had so far. Normally in September, I think we usually have some kind of a planning session where we sit down and go through and say, here's all the things that we want to learn this year. And then who's going to give those talks? Well, we didn't do that this year. So I figured January is a good time to start with sort of a beginner talk to sort of get everybody involved, get everybody started. So by all means, if you are interested in speaking, there is one on there. There's a form on there on wphamont.ca where you can submit to speak. If you are interested in volunteering, Rudy and I are looking for people to help out. Running this meetup is, it takes some time. It does, not just when we're hosting things like this, but especially now that we're online, there are blog posts to be written, there are videos to process, there are newsletters to be sent out, there are, theme changes and all the other fun stuff that go along with the maintaining of a meetup that are a little bit more than what they used to be. So if anybody's interested in volunteering with us, I've put up a form on there, wphamont.ca/volunteer. If anybody's interested in helping out with social media, with posting to Facebook, to doing all of that wonderful stuff. The biggest thing for me personally is getting people to help out with posting videos and doing content. So after we've had a meetup like this, I need somebody to do a write-up because personally I'm terrible at it. I'm good at talking, just not at writing. So if anybody's interested in that, that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for, is somebody to help sort of wrap up what we've done afterwards. The last thing I want to mention is our Slack channel for all of Canada. We have some of our friends, our neighbors to the south who are also involved. Buffalo and Rochester have their own channels as well. But this is where, if we're not doing a meetup like this and you want to get help in between those times, and you have a reach all across Canada, so you're not just limiting it to our neighborhood, but you can get help almost at any time. We have help channels. We have local channels that are specific to the regions. Most likely we have a Hamilton channel, for example. Toronto has their own, Durham, and so on. So anytime any of us are having meetups, it also allows us to talk to the West Coast a little bit easier. By all means, we urge you to join that channel and widen your network, and ours for that matter. It helps you to get help in between. A small little plug, only because they are providing these free to us. Kira is here from Samurai WP. She is actually hosting the WP Hammont site for free. Thank you, Kira. And is also providing Dragon Teach for us at no cost. So if anybody wants to know more about those, happy to do that afterwards. Matt Graham, who's also not with us this evening, he's also one of the co-organizers for Durham, actually provides the cost for the domain for slack.ca. So he pays for that out of his own pocket every year as well. So thank you to both of them for their kind contributions. That's about as far as my marketing goes. Rick, is there anything you wanted to, Rick Rudy, of course, is there anything you wanted to add to that, or?
I think you covered everything.
You got everything? Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into this, does anybody have any questions? Anne-Marie, go ahead.
Can you put some of these links in the chat so we can save the chat file? It's easier to link up.
Absolutely, I can.
Thank you.
Where's the chat feature going? Because I'm sharing, it's a little harder to find. Ha ha ha. There we go. Whoops. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Do. Okay, so I'm not sure who attendee is. But yeah, the password is actually listed on the group. It's actually WAPU. I'll put it into the chat as well. That is the password right there for registering on the site for Dragon Teach. And let's see here. And there's the volunteer one and the meetup. Give me a second here. I'll tell everyone where I posted the slides afterwards, just so that we can get underway here. Give me 1 second. And there is the Slack. Alrighty then. Give me 1 second. I'm just setting one other quick thing up here while I'm here. And interesting. Nope. Go back. It's not wanting to share my screen now. Ah, that's why. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, we'll get started. I'm happy to take questions as I go. There aren't really that many slides, to be honest with you. A lot of this is just going to be me actually putting stuff in. There's probably one more document that I'll get set up before we actually get into the site itself, but at very least you can sort of follow along. I apologize if I don't see your question right away, but by all means, if you need to jump in and say something, please go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So we are going to do a workshop tonight very quickly on what some people will call Gutenberg and some people call the block editor. So there is a lot of confusion around this. So let me be clear on this. Gutenberg is the name of the project, and that is usually in development. So what everyone actually gets on the end, if they're just installing WordPress and they're an end user is what I would call it, that's actually known as the WordPress block editor. Okay, so Gutenberg is actually the development stuff. These are a couple of photos. Since we haven't been together much these days, I've decided I'm going to basically prank all my friends who were at most of these WordCamps and post photos of them. So on the left is Sean Hooper, who's one of the organizers out in Ottawa. I think that was taken at Halifax in 2017. And on the right is T-Ray from Flywheel that I met back, and that was taken in Milwaukee in 2014 for the speaker dinner. So it was a lot of fun. Okay, so we're going to do a quick about me, which is not very long because you guys probably most of all you know me. We're going to build the site. We're going to talk about an about page, a contact page, and I'm literally going to build everything as you see it. Okay, nothing's going to be sort of pre-built. If there's a plugin that is required that is a paid service or something like that, I will tell you. When I first came up with this and I first presented it in Buffalo, I was using Jetpack, which was obviously a free version for things like forms. I am now not using Jetpack at all. I refuse to use it because it broke a bunch of things for me. So there is one part of this that is paid, but that's up to you how you use it. The goal here is to get comfortable with a block editor and to show how quickly a lot of this stuff can be done. Okay. So this is me. I'm obviously one of the co-organizers for the WordPress meetup here in Hamilton, Ontario. My colleague is Rick Rudy, who's also helping out. And we sort of alternate. So I organized this month. He'll probably organize next month. If you guys want to hear certain talks or anything else, please drop them into the chat. I'm sure that Rick will be happy to hear what you want to know about. I just know that Natasha was asking about things like page speeds and such like that, and web dev tests and things like that. So we may have to floor that for another meeting. I used to teach at Sheridan College. I was a web developer instructor there for about 6 years with my friend Kira Howe. And I've given more than 40 WordCamp talks. Last one I gave was in Rochester. I've just been slotted for WordFest Live, which is going on the 22nd of January. And I'll be speaking at 3 a.m. local time. Just saying. And I've done the craziest thing, and I've actually submitted for WordCamp India, and they just told me the other day I've been accepted. So shh, don't tell anybody. That's not public yet. Okay, so shh. But yeah, so I'm going to be speaking at WordCamp India this year. And if you can find me on Twitter, Shanta.ca and Namara Tech, which is my new company. Okay, so if you haven't already done so, shanta.dragonteach.com. WAPU is the password. WAPWUU. And you can select the WP Hemont Gutenberg workshop, and you can get a staging site there. But I think everyone has pretty much done that. Is there anybody who had trouble or hasn't got their site that wanted one? Great.
Well,
yeah.
I haven't configured the web space yet.
Then you're going to need to do that. Yeah. You should have gotten an email that says that you need to sign in and get a web space. That will be your WordPress configuration.
Okay, so I'm signed in, but it says I
No,
don't have.
but did you get an email? You should
Yeah,
have gotten an email.
I think I did.
Yeah. So go into there, and when you say I accept, then that should redirect you back, and it has all the coding in there that will actually start your WordPress installation. So you need
Okay.
to do that last step. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Sorry, of course, my phone starts ringing now. Of course. So if you haven't done that, you definitely need to do that part of it. Okay.
Sorry, question. Should we register when I click on that link? Ask me, I don't see a login page.
You clicked on the link you got in the email?
Yeah, I went to Dragon Tech, Shanta.Dragon Tech,
Dragon
and this
Teach,
Yeah.
Teach, right? Dragon Teach.
right?
And I click on the WPHAM Ontario Gutenberg workshop.
Yeah.
And
And
There's a step-by-step on that page that you see on the front
yeah, the
page.
next
There's a
one is
step-by-step. Start by choosing the first one,
I
the
see
class.
the class, April 30th. So is that the one?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, okay. And should we register or just log in?
no, you need to register.
Oh, okay. Then to create a new password,
Yep.
the name. Okay.
Yep.
Are you going to use this tonight?
No, I have my own test site, but this was just if somebody doesn't have a staging site through their hosting or anything like that, then at least you're not doing what we're going to do on your live site.
Oh, that's
Right.
for not for tonight to go with you or another time later on.
You can do this right now if you want to, for sure.
Oh, okay. Thank
Like
you.
I said, I just didn't advise. I just don't like people making changes on the real live website if they don't have a staging or a testing area. And I know that there are a lot of people that don't.
Okay.
So this is just so that you have a testing area that you can go into. This is my own course, and Kira is the one who runs Dragon Teach. It's not costing us anything to do that. So that's why it's a heck of a lot easier to do.
After we create this test website tonight, can we access it later on after
Yes.
this?
You'll have
Okay.
3 months.
3 months. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And then it will expire. But you'll get a chance to either download it or send it to a hosting company.
Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Any other questions? I'm not actually looking at the chat, so if you have anything that you really need me to address, then by all means, you can mention it. No? Okay, we'll keep going then. Perfect. Okay. So this is the website here. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to copy this into the chat for now. And you won't be able to do actually the back end, but you'll be able to see the changes that I make as I do them on the front end. Okay. Does that make sense? Jennifer, you look stressed. Don't do that. Everything okay, Jennifer? Okay, good. Just checking, just making sure. So I'm going to jump over there and then I will come back for resources and everything else in a second. So I'm going to stop the share for a quick sec. And then open up my browser and then reshare again. Okie dokie. So everyone can see this for the website. You see, so this, interestingly enough, this is the site I actually updated to 5.6, and I've now changed the default theme to 2020. Is it 2020 or 2021? Which is the one that they just released?
21.
I remember now.
Yeah,
2021.
Yeah.
So 2021 is the theme that they released with version 5.6. Okay, so it has a lot more options in it and things like that where you can just change. It's really kind of clean. I haven't really delved into it, but it's kind of interesting to see how this works. Anyway, so this is what you should see on your screen if you are following along. Like I said, I'm not using Dragon Teach. This is my own test site that I just play around with for sake of. But we're gonna dive into this one, okay? Any questions before we get started then? Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go into the back end here. And the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a page. Nope. Page. There we go. Okay. At this point, I'm assuming that you guys at least understand, maybe in principle, the differences between a page and a post. You may not understand exactly where they work or how they work or all of that kind of stuff, but I'm assuming at least you know how to get to this point. So, but if you do need something else, please do stop me, okay? So I'm going to add a new page. And this is what the new block editor looks like in 5.6, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to add a title, right? About me. Simple enough, right? One thing I haven't done as yet is opened a bio. So give me a second here. Speaking. There's one thing I forgot to open before we started the meeting. So bear with me just a quick sec. Speaking, me, and the bio. Yeah, that'll do. Actually, let's go with the short one. No, long one. Okay. So what I'm attempting to do here is I didn't want to sit there and just write out whatever and use the blocks and everything else, because how many of you actually have half of this documentation stuff actually in a block sort of format, or are you going to copy and paste one by one by one? You're not, right? Let's be serious. A lot of your stuff is going to be in a Google Doc. A lot of your stuff is going to be in Word or in some other text editor or something like that. So the goal here is not necessarily just how to use the block editor. And my purpose for this specific post is to actually take an entire Word document and show you how it actually copies over. Okay. So what you don't see off screen is I've just opened a Word document with my bio in it, and I've copied the contents of that document, all the paragraphs with the exception of the title, because I've just used about me. Okay. So all I'm going to do right now is I put my cursor there and I'm just going to hit paste. Okay. What I want you to notice here is how it is actually recognizing each one of these as a block. Okay. So each one, like this right here, should be one block. You can see that as I hover over it. This is how it should be done. Every time you enter in some info and you hit return on your keyboard, it does a new block, right? A paragraph. That's how it should be. And what I've done here is I've shown you that you don't actually have to copy and paste paragraph by paragraph by paragraph. You can take an entire document that you've already done somewhere else, especially if you're, having to move stuff from one to another, or you're just, you're transferring it from something else. It's here, right? And the fact is that for the most part, it's carrying over what it needs to, and not a heck of a lot more, thankfully. Because as we all know, or at least as I hope we should all know, Word is not a code editor. Just saying. Okay. So when you do this, I'm trying to save you time, right? That's my goal here, is to save you that time. Do this in basically 30 minutes. Many of us have our bios already written up in some way, shape, or form. So this is now actually copying and pasting over each block as it goes. Okay. Jaggers, you have a question?
I've been hesitant about bringing Microsoft Word documents into WordPress because Microsoft Word likes to help you with formatting and code in the
Yes.
backgrounds. So is this process only going to bring the text over, or is it going to bring over the bullets and the underline and the bold that you use in Microsoft Word?
Great question. Let me show you. That's a link.
Okay.
It's brought over not only the formatting, but the underlying link to that web page that I've clicked or that I'm going to click. It's brought over all of these here as well. So far that I've seen, it does bring over those bullets, various things. If you want, I can even probably do a quick bullet list here and see what it does.
What if you had bolded something or you had used italics in your text?
Let's find out.
That's what I was going to ask. Like the text that you copied is a different font than the one that's been pasted, right? Like it's picked up the font of whatever this theme uses, correct?
Yes, because that's what it's supposed to do.
And yeah, so that's what I mean. Like
Yes.
you could set this in Word and something crazy, and it would ignore that when you pasted it into WordPress. Is what you're saying?
That is my understanding.
Yeah, the block editor's gotten much better.
It
Like
has.
the old
It has
classic
indeed.
editor would copy over font tags and change it, but the new block editor is very good about stripping that stuff out and just taking your basic formatting, like your italics and your bolds.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open a new one. There's your answer.
No, that's
Oh.
nice because in Word and
Yeah.
and things like that, it usually works in Calibri, which is a font I absolutely loathe. So
Mhm.
it's nice to know that you can just
Oh,
type
let's
some
use
stuff.
Comic Sans.
pop it in.
Comic Sans is not a font. Go away.
I think
Actually,
everybody should use Comic Sans for
No.
everything. Put it
Kira,
on your
we used to fail
resume.
them if they
Put it on
did.
your
Come on,
resume.
we would actually deduct a mark in our courses. Kira knows this very well. We would actually deduct a mark if they used it. I'm not
actually,
kidding.
they've
Yeah.
done some research and they found that people with dyslexia can read things that are set in Comic Sans,
Hmm.
and they can't in a font like this, which just looks like a plain Arial.
Interesting. I may have to check on you with that. But here's the point though, is that yes, it is actually stripping down what it needs to strip down, because yes, and this is where a lot of people I find have a lot of difficulty. Cindy, you're quite right in saying that it should strip it down, because the reality is that if the way that WordPress is designed is to be consistent. You shouldn't have one post that has a different font than another post, than another, and so on and so forth. It's designed to be so that your stuff is consistent. It's pulling over what it should in terms of a list, in terms of bold or emphasis, etc. It's at least pulling that much as it's supposed to. Does that make sense? At
And
least in
so
my opinion so far.
Can you do a Control-Shift-V to paste it in without formatting?
Again, I don't know if you'd want to though. Like, again, it's not about the formatting per se. It's about, well, some of it, it's a matter, is that formatting or is it not considered formatting, right? Is it?
Or a Control-Shift-V is the same thing as,
No, I understand. Well, here's the thing though, is that if you're on a Mac, it doesn't work.
oh, never mind.
It does, but it's Command Option Shift V.
There you go. So even then, I don't want to necessarily get it, but the idea here is that you can basically take a document. We can test it out later if you want, but for now, it's like the idea here is that it, to me, in my opinion, it is doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
In that it is keeping the minimal amount of contextual formatting, is what I would call it, that it's supposed to do. And it's breaking it up into the blocks as it is intended from just a straight up Word document.
I like that.
Okay. So again, that saves a lot of people time, and a lot of people have not even tried that because they think, oh, I've got to hit enter after every paragraph and enter it one by one. No, you don't. It's actually recognizing this now as separate blocks as each paragraph.
Now, the one thing I was going to ask too is I saw as you were hovering, it popped up a little check this in Grammarly thing. Is that a plugin that you specifically installed, or is that
In Chrome. That's a Chrome thing, actually. Yes, that
Okay.
is not a WordPress thing.
Okay, well,
No.
I don't have Grammarly, so I was like, oh, they've included Grammarly now.
Yeah. I should probably have turned it off for this because it does slow it down just a little bit, but yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Rick, I'm assuming you're watching the chat. If there's anything that I need to, thank you. I appreciate that.
One quick question.
Go ahead,
Did
Emery.
you install the theme 2021 before you did this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Actually,
you.
up until this afternoon, this was still running 2019 as its theme.
Okay.
And that's a good point, because all the content, like all the posts that I've actually written on here, I think I was still using 2016.
Okay.
Maybe even 2015, actually. So it'll be interesting to see how those posts translate over, because they were written before Gutenberg was even around,
Right.
right? So we'll check that out as well. That'll be interesting.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, we'll
Are
keep
you,
going.
are you going to show how to change line spacing? For example, when we copy from Word, line spacing is too much. Are you going to show how to do that? Change the font size?
No. The reason
spacing?
why is because if you are going to do that, you should be doing that consistently across your theme, and should either be doing that, in my opinion, unless you have a very specific reason, you shouldn't be editing text in terms of size and everything else unless you're editing the theme or adding custom CSS.
Okay,
The
so whether we
editor is
copy-
not meant to necessarily change font size or anything else, unless you're making it a heading, or it's what we call semantic editing, if you will.
But those changes that you can do for each blog, the title, bold, those things.
So I can
When you
make
do-
something bold. That is not a problem. I can do this like so, and I can make that bold.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about sizing and other things like that, again, this is what I was saying before, is that the goal here is to make things like your fonts, your sizing for your text, and so on across all of your posts consistent. If you need a specific sizing, like for a heading or whatever, it should be the same across all of your sites. If you have a
Okay.
specific reason why you don't, I'd like to know. I want to know why you want to do that first, because that's exactly how it should be, at least in my opinion.
How about line spacing? When I copy from
Same
Word,
thing.
keep it as is.
I'm keeping this as is, but again, if you're going to do line spacing here versus in another document, like you're going to do that at the CSS level and change it via your theme so that all of your posts are going to have that kind of line spacing.
Yeah,
Does that
but
make
when
sense?
yes, when I copy from Word, the line spacing is too much. It's like double lines. But when I type, the line spacing is less. So I want to make
Okay.
it consistent.
Then it's either that it may have to do with your theme. It may also have to do with how many times you've hit return in between different paragraphs. Like there could be a number of reasons why, but this is a little bit more line spacing than what I have in the original document, because the line spacing here is being taken from the theme itself, not necessarily from the Word document.
Okay.
Does that
Okay,
make
thank you.
sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Okay. And if you want, we can take a look at it afterwards. But like I said, to me, this is at least taking over what it's supposed to.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to hit publish on this. And it gives me this lovely warning. Great. Okay. So I'm going to view the page. And this is what it looks like. Questions about that? Okay. Oh, right. One thing I forgot to do. Let's go back. Images. So let's assume for the moment you want to put in an image somewhere here. I'm just going to put it at the top for sake of ease of use. I'm going to now, this is the other thing, is now this is moved over to this side. In 5.6, there are a ton of new blocks as well, apparently. They've now I'm trying to remember what they were saying in 5. There was something, there was a reason in 5.6. The other thing is that I can actually hover over various different areas and it will show me an example of what is going to be shown in the actual document itself. Does that make sense? So this is kind of one of those fun things, like this is what pre-formatted looks like. This is what quotes look like, et cetera, et cetera. You know, your media, your galleries, you can put page breaks in, you can do all of this stuff. But again, the goal here, what I wanted to do is at least get you enough content that this is like something that these basic pages that I'm showing you are settings that should be done on every site, regardless of the company or business you are running. Okay. An about page, a contact page, and figure out how to do the settings on your homepage, essentially, right? Whether it's a blog or something else. Okay. And how to set up the menu, of course. Does that make sense?
How do you show this left plane that I don't see it on mine?
This little, well, here's the thing. Depends on which version of WordPress you're running. I'm running the latest, which is 5.6.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
So I have this up here, but I can also hover over this. And this is why, because it's very hard to see where that little plus button is.
Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you.
So I'm going to put an image in here. This is the other thing too, is that now I can do borders. I can do rounded. I can do all kinds of fun stuff. Now I've already uploaded stuff to my installation, so I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm going to use this one right here. I've already added my alt text, which should always be done. Always, always, always. And I'm going to select that one. So here are some of the fun things that I'm going to take a little bit longer than 30 minutes, so I apologize, but here's the goal. In a lot of these now with 5.6 and so on, you can now actually edit the image inline. While you're actually here, you can change the size of it. I can do this and make it smaller. Of course, it's taking up the entire block. I'm not worried about how it's arranging at the moment. Okay. What I'm showing you here is that if you wanted to put that on the side, we can, you know, change where it's going. I can align it right. And now it's going around all of the text. But the goal here is that I can actually now bring this away or bring it and resize it right in line with what we're dealing with. And if I'm not mistaken, that was either available in 5.5 or 6. So if you don't have at least 5.5, you won't see this. And I think this might have even just come out in 5.6. If anybody knows that, please go ahead and correct me. The beauty is I can do rounded now. Right, and I can resize that. I can put a frame around it. I can, all kinds of fun stuff, right?
Can you change the size of the rounding on that?
Doesn't look like it, unless, no, doesn't look like it.
Bummer.
Well, it may just be the type of image that I'm using. Like, I'm sure there's probably a few ways to do it, but.
Oh, I just mean in PowerPoint, it'll do a similar thing where it'll automatically round it. But then there's little handles at the corners of the rounding, so you can make them like sharper or rounder. Like this is really round.
Well, what I'm sure that it is, if the image was a square, it would probably do so, but the original image isn't. Right? It's a rectangle.
But I mean, instead of those corners being like really sloped like that, if they were just like a little bit round and in the tops, like I get what you're saying. If this was a square, it would come in as a perfect circle.
Right.
But right now it just looks like a giant pill. So it's just kind of weird.
I know. Well, some have said no, I'm just kidding. So any questions about that? Okay. I'm just going to leave it like that. And we've updated it. We're now going to look at, I'll just refresh this and view the page. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. So this is what the About Me looks like. very basic. But again, you do you, right? You do whatever theme you think is appropriate, whatever alignment. That's not my goal here. My goal here is to at least save you the time and say, you know, you can copy this in. It will more or less do what you want it to do, at least in my eyes, the way that it was intended. You can insert an image pretty quickly, and now you can do things like resizing and framing and everything else within the editor itself. Questions about that? Okay, let's move on. So the next page that I'm going to do is very simply the contact page. I might have even already created a, so this is where I was going to say, I used to use Jetpack for this, and I refuse to use Jetpack anymore because it's broken far too many things. It slows too many things down, in my humble opinion. So I've now just, and because I was only using about 2 or 3 things out of that whole entire suite. So I am using a paid plugin version, okay, called Gravity Forms. Now that's my personal preference. You can use contact forms. You can use whichever ones you want. There's Caldera Forms, there's Gravity Forms, there's all kinds. I think we could probably do an entire session just on forms and how to set them up and, you know, conditionals and all that stuff. But for this, know that I actually purchased the plugin myself. But again, it's not about which plugin you're using. It's about how you do this, right? So I have already set up a form.
Sorry, can you repeat the name of the plugin?
I'm sorry, say again?
What's the plugin name again?
Gravity. As in Sir
Okay.
Isaac Newton. Gravity.
Okay, and can you recommend a free version just to start with for learning purposes, practice?
So as far as I know, Gravity Forms does not have a free version, if I'm not
Anything
mistaken.
else?
Again, there are tons of free ones out there. I think Contact Form 7 has a free version. There's quite a few that we could probably go over afterwards. But that's what I'm saying is I'm prefacing it by saying that I'm using a particular plugin. But for what we're doing this evening, it doesn't matter which one you are using. Okay.
Thank you.
You're very
Yep.
welcome. So all I'm going to do is hit plus, and right here, these are sort of the ones that I tend to use the most. I have a form here. Again, I've already built the form prior to my coming to the page, and I have a contact page. I'm done. Okay. The other thing, honestly, that I was using in Jetpack was a map plugin that was not, it wasn't Google Maps, it was something else. And that also was slowing things down. I still have not yet found, and I'm going to come back to this in a sec, but I usually like to put in a map to show especially physical locations, things like that. But I haven't quite found a good map. If anyone else has one, happy to listen to that. But again, this is, I'll finish the form and then we'll go to the address block. But if anybody has any ideas about the Google Maps part of this or a map, I'm happy to entertain that. So basically just contact me, name, email, whatever. And this is it. Like, this is literally all that it takes. Right. So the next thing I want to do, I think there is also an address block, unless that was also part of, yeah. So the address block was also part of Jetpack, which again, don't like to do. The goal here was to basically just have your name, your address and whatever, but obviously if it's just going to be text, it's not really valuable to you. But I just wanted to show at least all you have to do is set up the form ahead of time and then come into this. So does anybody have any recommendations for physical locations like Google Maps or anything like that? No?
But just to mention, can you hear me okay?
A little bit louder. Yeah, Kara, you go ahead.
For that particular form, there is a free version, but it doesn't allow you to see the entries unless you pay. So you
For
can
Gravity
create the
Forms, you
form.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has an address block, I think, if you go into the advanced link, the advanced option. I don't know if that one does, but
WordPress, you mean?
the WordPress, you know, there's a WordPress form as well. WordPress makes its own forms. That one has the address block, and it actually works better, and you can see the entries. But yeah.
Oh, look
I
at
needed
that.
this. Just,
Perfect.
What I
You
wanted
solved
to
my
ask.
problem.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for the gravity form. I don't think it, for me, it didn't work well at all. It was very limited. So
Fair. But again, part of this is not just how to use the block editor, but for me, it's also about what things you need on each page, right? Is that, especially if you have a physical location, you should have all of these things. And the thing I like about this is that it even has some of the social sharing pieces on here.
Yeah, about that, is there a spot where you can put in like a MailChimp form, where you can put in the code for the MailChimp form? Because I don't know if it's an add-on, but they used to have it.
Sorry, the Gravity Forms used to have it, or WordPress used to have it?
WordPress used to have it as a
WordPress
plugin.
does have a MailChimp add-on, that's true. And what I would do in that case is you would have, I think you can, again, I haven't tested this, so bear with me. Logic would tell me I could go over to MailChimp. There's two ways you could do it. You can go over to MailChimp, and they probably have an embed code that you can use.
Right.
The other option, what I use with Gravity Forms myself, is that I have it integrated with MailChimp. So anytime someone signs up to my mailing list, provided that they have checked off the button, off the list, right? Regardless of what form it's on, I say I agree to be added to that mailing list. This little checkbox actually will go into MailChimp, and I say in MailChimp or in Gravity Forms, if that box is checked off, then send this to MailChimp on that list. And add some tags or, you know, some comments or whatever that thing is. That is available through Gravity Forms, I know for sure.
What I'm finding is that you can integrate on the MailChimp side, no problem. But if you try to, when I'm doing the footer, or if you try to integrate it, or what you call it, you know how it asks you, where do you want to pull this mail list from? It only gives you there. So it'll either give you Gravity Form or the WordPress. The MailChimp one doesn't come in the drop-down list. So you can't really add it to the footer.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding the concept here, because all I have there is the form, and in the back end of Gravity Forms, I tell it, if somebody submits this form, send it to MailChimp and add it to that particular list.
Okay, yeah, that's on the Gravity Form side. So outside of Gravity Form, if you use if you're adding your mail list to the footer part, yeah.
Like a widget.
The widget, thank you.
Okay, now I'm starting it, okay.
Right, so in the widget, you can add in these little sections, and the part for where it asks you which form do you want to use, the MailChimp one doesn't show up in the drop-down.
But doesn't MailChimp have its own widget?
It does, but it does. Then you can't. I don't know where to put it in the footer. Like, how would you add it in the footer? Because I don't. Is there a block that you can add a code?
I do see a couple of hands up. I will answer those in just a sec. So you would probably add a widget area.
Yeah.
And then add the MailChimp widget to that area.
So there's
this isn't a footer in here. This is still part of the content.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So so you would probably go under appearance and widgets.
Okay.
And add it in there. That's my quick answer. We could probably try that out afterwards if you wanted.
And it's a widget for an embed code?
No, if you've already got MailChimp installed, there may already be something there that says install a MailChimp widget.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That. Thank you.
Anne-Marie, you had your hand up first, I think.
Yep, you did this so fast. What you did is you went to the plus sign and then you added this as your plugin. Is that how you did this to get your form up? And you had pre-configured this form already before you installed it today?
I already had the plugin installed.
Right.
I already created the form in advance.
Okay.
Right. if this is about creating forms, you're absolutely right. I probably would have gone through the whole thing.
Right,
The
okay.
goal here is this under the assumption of you've already created whatever your form is. This is just
Right.
adding the form to a page.
So what you did is you went to the blue little box, you clicked on it, you went to your plugin, and then you brought it up that way.
Yeah, I use forms.
Okay.
Exactly. So if you want, I'll just do this. This is form, and
Oh,
that logo
okay.
is Gravity Forms.
Okay,
Because the installation recognizes that I'm using Gravity Forms.
Yep.
I went there and then selected whichever form I wanted. It's
okay, you
literally
were
that simple.
just so speedy.
No, I
Going,
appreciate
"Whoa,
it.
Okay,
No,
great.
no, no. If
Thank
I'm
you.
going too fast, I need to know for
Thank
sure. Yeah. Cece, you had a question
Okay.
as well?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how to see the code. I don't know if you're going to get to that later, but is there a way to see the HTML?
Let me see here. Hang on a second. Let's save a draft. Okay, so that's saved. Try to remember now. I can select, I can edit.
Extra options on the block. It'd be on the block itself.
It's on the block itself, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and the little the dots. I just don't know if it shows up on the Gravity Forms one.
There it is.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, so sorry. Did you click on advanced to see that?
So I clicked on the block itself and
Okay.
then the 3 dots next to settings right over here in the top right corner.
Okay.
And then under editor, I switched from visual editor to code editor.
Okay. Thank you.
That was all Rick, not me.
Thank you, Rick.
Anybody else have questions? No? Okay. So we do have a contact, which is great. Again, I'm still looking around for something that will actually do a proper, a decent embed rather than just simply going to Google Forms and embedding it that way. But I'm happy to, take options for that. Rick, do you have anything that you use in particular or no?
I usually pull it from a page builder.
Okay.
Or I build one using the JavaScript API myself.
Okay, so you're pulling from the API. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Anybody else have anything they use or in particular? No? Okay. Well, I will leave that one open. But to me, you should probably have at least this. And again, which one you put where is entirely up to you. If you are a more physical location, then you may want to take this and move it up. You'll notice that this is actually targeting the middle block of what appears to be 3 blocks, right? This shows me the hierarchy of the items within it. Okay. This has helped me a great deal because how do I know what I'm targeting? How do I know what I'm editing? How do I know what I'm moving? So this shows me, so these, let me start at the bottom. These 4 social icons are these. This is the social icons block within the overall, and then each of these is a column. So one has a paragraph, another one has a paragraph, and the other has the social icons. So if I want to actually take the entire block, the contact block that we just added, I can literally touch here and now it's selected the entire piece. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's say that I want this to actually appear above the contact form. I just clicked the arrow up right here and it bounced it right above. And that's how you can navigate around as well. Okay. Just a quick thing because I thought, no, those should probably go above. But again, the design part is up to you. This is about very basics and just, making yourself aware of what's available. Right. Any other questions? Great. Shall I keep going then? Okay. So the last item I think that I was supposed to do was I was going to do the blog page, right? Okay. So we're going to publish this. And did it publish? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to view the page. So this is what we see. Okay. Pretty straightforward type stuff. Again, if you want to change how this looks and everything else, that's a whole other talk. So we're not going to do that today, but this is about adding and getting the content at least up and running. Okay. So far, so good. Great. So one of the last components or one of the pieces that I want to then deal with now is having the homepage, having a blog page. Okay. So for this, I'm actually going to go into the theme itself. And actually, now that I realize that, I've changed the theme, so I don't really know exactly where it is. So we're going to figure this out together. Customize will allow me to determine the homepage settings. Okay, almost every theme should have this because it is part and parcel of the WordPress core. So let's assume for the moment, right now, this is showing me, this is the live view, of course, of my website. And it's basically showing posts. And this shows you how long I've had this site. So obviously the original theme was not 2015 because it was way back when. So this is what my homepage basically looks like at the moment. Okay. But what if I don't want to show the latest posts, right? I want to show a static page. I want to draw a home page. I want to actually have all the blocks and calls to action and all the busyness that you want on your homepage. I am not going to design a homepage for you today. Let me be clear, because everyone is going to have something they want differently. Everyone is going to have a different point. My goal here is to show you, at least once you've designed your home page, to make that your home page. That's it. That is the extent of the scope of this talk. Okay. You design a new page, you design your home page. And once you have done that, then your job is to then make that your homepage. Okay. The other part of this is to also understand where those posts go to live if they're not on your homepage. If they're not on your homepage, then you need to tell WordPress what page do you want them to appear on. Again, that is part of the scope of this. Does that make sense? So I'm not here to design your homepage. I am not here to, go through and add all the blocks and everything else. But I want you to know that the goal here is assuming, just like I built the form ahead of time, that you've built a homepage ahead of time. I don't have one for this. That's okay. We'll still show you. So the homepage right now displays the latest posts. I don't want the latest posts. I want my homepage. So I select a static page. You are now given two options. Okay. What page do you want to show then on your homepage? I'm assuming you built home or something similar. I haven't. In my example, I'm going to use the About page as my homepage. Does that make sense for everybody? Are there any questions about that? Okay. So I'm going to select the About Me page as my homepage. Okay. Now I need to tell it, okay, well, those are that's what you're going to have in your homepage. How are people going to find your posts? So you need to tell it, where do you want those to go? And I'm going to say, I'm going to add a new page, and no, please don't call it blog. It drives me nuts. For now, I'm just going to call this the post page. Okay. You're going to call it something probably a little bit more interesting.
Why don't you call it blog?
I've got a whole talk on it. Don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. Because here's the reality. Honestly, I probably wouldn't use this myself. If you go in, I'll give you the link to my talk afterwards, but I probably would never use this anyways. I would probably divide it up and lead you there other ways. So for now, I'm just going to call it the post page. Okay. Does that make sense? This is probably all I'm going to show you as far as the customization goes. Okay. So all we've done here is, let's assume that you've set up your homepage. You are going to then go here under customizing of your theme, and every theme will have different options, but every single one of them, and I'm going to hit publish, right? So now when you go to the site and I click on my WordCamp test site, you should now see this is a static homepage, right? Make sense? Let's assume for the moment that this is not here. Okay. So you have the static homepage. How on earth are people going to get to see your posts and your other pages and everything else? You need a menu. There is, so these have now been saved. I'm going to go back. So that was under homepage settings. Okay. There is an option here to edit the menu right from this interface. I don't like it, so I don't use it. I'll be honest. Okay. If you want to do it from here, what I'm about to do is exactly the same. It will achieve the same goal. It's just a different interface within the same installation. Okay. I just find that this is very limiting, but I like to see it sort of more full screen. Okay. So I'm going to close the customizer here. And I'm going to go into appearance and menus. Okay. And I'm just going to show you a quick little trick here. So this is what I expected to see. Okay, so now I've set my home page to be my about page. I've now set my blog page or my post page to be post page. So without a menu, how on earth does it do this? Right? Every theme has a different number of menu locations and number of menus that you can have. Okay. My humble opinion is you should not let WordPress add to your menu by default when you add a page. Okay. That's, again, you could go on an entire talk about it, but to me, this should be something you should manage manually. And while it can be updated, should not be altered frequently, at least in my book. Okay. This is something that should be thought out, not just on the fly. That's my goal here. Okay. So I'm in menus. Okay. And I am going to create a new menu. Okay. Let's assume that I didn't have a menu up there. If you'll notice, a new menu automatically allows you to add top level pages to this menu. And I will say no, because I don't necessarily want that to happen. Okay. If I create a page, for example, for these slides, why on earth would I want that to go into the menu? Doesn't make sense. Okay. So to me, that is a very important place to make sure that that's not checked. The other thing that you want to say is the display location. The primary menu and the secondary menu, that the number of display locations will change depending on your theme. You may have multiple areas. You may have one for all I know. So this may look very different. Again, I am using the 2021 theme to show you here what's available. Okay. So the menu that I'm going to create is going to be called Hamu, which is this guy behind me, for the Hamilton WordPress Meetup. And I'm going to create the menu, and I'm going to set that to the primary menu. Again, I don't have anything here, so that when I still go back to the test site and I reload it, all it's done is shifted it. You notice that, right? So you can set it to have no menu, and it will center the title. But if you tell it there is a menu, but it's empty, then it's at least made room for it. Does that make sense? See, you guys I'm learning just as much as you are tonight. This is great. This is going to be real fast. Honestly, it's not going to take very much time at all. And I think this is the last item I had pretty much in my thing. I'm going to view all the pages. You'll notice that it says that this is currently set to the front page. Again, you would probably have home as your front page, and then an about page. It also tells you which one is your post page, which I'm not going to add. I'll show you why in a sec. I'm going to say the about me, fine. It's going to basically show as home. And I'm going to have the contact page. That's about it. I'm going to add those to my menu. Here they are here. In order for those to show, I have to save the menu. So way over here on the right, I'm going to click Save Menu. You'll notice that this is the menu I'm editing, and it is added to the primary menu in the theme. So now when I reload this, you'll now see About Me and Contact. Make sense? Any questions so far? Okay, so Kara, you were asking originally about the post page and things like that. Here's the quick and short version of that talk. I am not going to add something called post pages. I'm going to add, do not add posts. I do not see a reason for that. I know I'm very opinionated. I apologize. If you guys haven't heard me talk before, I'm really sorry. Anyway, I'm going to view all. This is a bunch of, these are all the, like a bunch of the categories that I have for my website. And usually this would be a lot more cohesive, but the reason I did the way that I did them is to show the division. And depending on what it is that you have on here, you probably wouldn't have all of these different topics. But what I was trying to show you here is that you would probably group similar type topics together. So for example, I think I have a bunch in fun. I have at least one of them in Galway. I might have them in, I unpublished a bunch. Okay, so I apologize if there aren't any posts in them right away. Never add uncategorized. There's no reason for that. And these ones here. So I'm going to add those to the menu. That's a lot. Bear with me. This is a bit of a crossover from my other talk. So when I refresh this, it's now going to be freaking huge, right? That's ridiculous. That should not be that way. So first thing I'm going to do is to me, the contact page, the about page should always be closer to the left. And I'm using this with a grain of salt. So take that with a grain of salt, depending on your business. But to me, typically 9 times out of 10, your about page is closer to the left side of the page, whereas the contact one is closer to the bottom. And all I did was drag and drop. That's it. Okay. Save the menu. Now, if you recall over here for the categories, you notice how I had all of these hierarchies already. All I'm going to do now is replicate that hierarchy in the menu. This is all back end. Your clients don't see this. Your visitors don't see this. This is what they're going to see. So all I'm going to do right now is replicate that by literally dragging and dropping them into sub items as I see fit. I happen to know them all, so I'm going to put them where I know they need to go. Okay. Save the menu again. I'm going to refresh the site. Now they're actually grouped in the way that they probably should be. Make sense? So if I go to fun, which is a parent category, you'll see a Doctor Who post, a That a Baby impression, Wonder Woman on Wikipedia. Yes, I'm a Doctor Who fan. And you'll see all of those parts. Now, if I want to dig a little deeper and I want to go into, say, just the posts about Doctor Who, then I can click on this one and it will just give me the posts on Doctor Who. In answer to Kara's question, that is exactly why I do not add an entire blog component into the menu, because to me, it's useless. Because if you have all these Doctor Who posts and you just want to see the stuff about Wonder Woman, and that was 2 years ago, it's a waste. Again, I've done an entire talk on that. We can chat about it afterwards, but you can tell that it's a big pet peeve of mine. So basically, this is now your very basic site. So now you have a home page that you've created. You've got an about me, a contact page with that contact block, where you would also probably add your Google map to, if you are a local business. You would want to have that on there and available, or whichever map you decide to use, but that tends to be the most common. And then you've also then now been able to add those to your menu along with any other items that you have here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Okay. Are there any questions to this point?
I do have a question.
Okay, Kara, if you can just speak up a little bit though.
Okay, so
Perfect.
for the categories, can you maybe put that in a sidebar instead of on the top of the page? Because on mine, it would be cluttered if I put it up there.
Sorry,
So, like,
you're saying that, can you put the categories in the sidebar?
On a side, yeah, like the right side of your page or the left side.
Depends on your theme.
Okay.
For this particular theme, the primary menu is at the top of the thing. Now, you could also add that to a widget if you have a sidebar, that kind of thing. But if it's going to get cluttered like that, I'd want to know why. Like, are your categories like really long descriptions?
No, but they
Oh.
only apply to the blog page, so I don't want it like in the main part of the site.
Ah, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, again, this is why I don't personally use a blog page, because to me, those should not always, I shouldn't say that. I'm used to seeing them as part of the actual navigation to guide them, because to your users, they won't care whether or not they are a post or a page. And to me, clicking on blog and then going to something else is one more click that they may or may not need.
Okay.
Just an opinion one way or the other. Like, that's my own personal opinion, but okay. And again, if you want, we can chat about that afterwards, Kara, because I can definitely help you with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions about this? Yes, Anne-Marie, go ahead.
First of all, I think you're brilliant with that last thing with the post and the blogs, because my blog has 3 different sections and I can just see this working perfectly. And I never even thought about that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's wonderful. I didn't understand what Dragon Teach was at the very beginning when I came on, and now I do. Is WordPress already installed there, or do I have to install WordPress when I go there?
So when did you get an email once you registered?
I didn't register. I just
Okay.
found out about it tonight.
Right. So when you register, it will send you an email. When you click on the email to confirm, it will then send a message to do the installation for you.
Okay.
It will not install until you've confirmed.
Okay.
But yeah, Anne-Marie, you should probably connect with Kira as well, because I know you're a teacher and she was the one that taught with me at Sheridan College as well. You guys have probably met before too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This is just a brilliant. I'm so glad I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Let me just put up 1 or 2 slides more and we can still ask questions. Just so that we have, just so I have like my resources and all that other fun stuff. I'm going to do this and then share. Okay, so just to do a quick thing here, this is a couple of posts. Give me a sec. These are a couple of resources that that you may want to take a look at. LinkedIn Learning is actually available mostly through the Ontario Libraries systems. Here in Hamilton, I know that we have it through the Hamilton Library. Toronto usually has it as well. So even if you are not a premium member of LinkedIn, you can still access this because it used to be under lynda.com. Okay. So just because I know Anne-Marie was at Sheridan as well, they moved over to LinkedIn about a year ago. So now when you go to the LinkedIn Learning through Sheridan College, it's actually now redirecting to LinkedIn Learning. They actually had to port over a bunch of stuff. I highly recommend
Shanta, can
Morton Rand
can you put that stuff in
Hendrickson
the
as well as
chat?
Joe Casabona. Sorry, what was that? Sorry, somebody was asking a question.
Just wondering if you can put that information in the chat.
Oh, I'm going to share the slides afterwards if you want. I'll definitely share those afterwards and we can do that. But if you go to linkedin.com/learning, if you go through the library system, just look at lynda.com. Okay. Gutenberg Times is one of the more recent resources that I found that does a lot of information and sort of what's coming and how to use and. These are some of the interesting ones that I've seen. I saw it in a presentation recently that helped me figure out how Gutenberg works in some of these ways. So the secret manual hidden features with WordPress, the blocks.gutenbergs.times. Again, those are, it's a really, really good resource. This is what they do. This is their bread and butter every day of the week. And they have some really, really good resources there. The other thing, if you wanted to understand sort of the difference between Gutenberg, and this is probably has also changed even since then, the Gutenberg templates versus CPTs and ACFs. And if you don't know what those are, there's another talk that talks about what the heck, or like WTH, CPTs and ACFs. It's all a bunch of acronyms. And I have a talk on that as well. So that I did it at WordCamp Hamilton. So I won't spoil this, but basically there's a difference to me, and I'm sure a couple of people have various opinions, is that there is a difference between creating a Gutenberg template, which is what is basically on the front end, and things like custom post types, which is CPTs, and ACFs, which is advanced custom fields. And a lot of those can be on the back end as well as the front end. But again, the block editor is meant to be that front end sort of display, whereas this may also deal with information. So those are the big pieces. If you want, you can send me a message at namara.com/contact. I will also be posting, when I post the slides with all of the links within it, I will make sure to put that into the meetup so that you can find the slides, the links, all of the things of the above. And then the only other thing I'm going to ask is if anybody is interested in doing a write-up of this session, because I should not be the one doing it, especially since I'm the one who presented it. So I'd rather get somebody else's perspective. So that's just my personal thing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to ask if there are any other questions. No? Wow.
I don't
Stop
see, sorry, I don't see categories under menu.
Under menu?
Yes.
Okay. What part?
Can you show it again? How to?
Sure. Okay, so this is your menu here.
Yes.
Is this what you're looking at? This menu interface?
Yeah, I can see that. Yes.
So you see pages,
Yes.
posts, and if you go all the way down, there's categories.
Oh, okay. I can see it now. Yes.
Perfect.
And I can add.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And what I'll do is before I post the slides, I'll also post the link, especially for Caro and maybe Anne-Marie, you'll appreciate this as well. That whole like breaking apart the blog page I do in a content architecture talk. that I did. The most recent one I think was Rochester, and that's available on WordPress.tv. I'll add that to the slides, post them, and then put the link into the meetup so you guys can find them. Okay.
Another question on the menu settings. We have options to desktop, horizontal, desktop, expanded, mobile, footer, social. That depends on which one we want to have, or for example, should we choose desktop and mobile both?
Again, it depends on, I think, which theme you're using.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, I just have where to put those those locations, right? Am I putting this in the primary menu or the secondary menu? If you have a different menu for mobile, which is possible, you may have that as part of a setting of the theme itself. The theme actually controls where those menus go.
Okay.
Does that make
Is
sense?
Yes. Is the theme the same for all pages, the whole website?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how it should be anyways. I mean, you could override it in theory, but again, I would question the business reason why.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Asif, you had a question?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, I have not been able to set up the web space.
Okay.
So I am still kind of just looking at what you are doing. It would
Sure.
have been great if I was able to, but for whatever reason, no matter if I select the domain first
Okay.
or I click in the box to type something, in either way, it spits out that domain is not available.
Okay, so you're on Dragon Teach you're talking about.
Correct. Sorry.
Okay. And you got the email, you've clicked through the email,
Yes.
and then you've selected one of the domains?
That's where I'm stuck. So no matter if I select the drop down first, or if I click inside the box to type something,
Okay.
either way, it spits out the red error below that domain is not available without
Okay.
me having actually tried anything.
You need to type both of the, you need to select one and type something in there, and it will allow you to go further.
That's what I'm trying, but it's not taking it. So, I mean,
What do you
so
type
if
into the text box?
I'll tell you what, Asif, can you share your screen?
Let me see if I can. Hold on.
We'll take like a quick minute. Give me a second. I'll allow you to do
Sure.
that.
Thanks.
Okay, you should be able to go ahead.
Okay, so let's see here. Which screen is this? Dragon Teach, this guy here. Tell me if you got it. Okay.
So the
See
domain
here?
is not available. Okay.
Right. So if I
you have
let's just refresh it.
Okay.
I'll show both ways. So I come here and see as soon as I type, let's say, there we go.
That's fine.
Okay.
So
And then
typing.
hang on. Then now once you've typed that in,
okay,
bring the domain down, select a domain.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Okay, I was just stopping as soon as I saw that red error coming up.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have to select one or the other domain.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And this is going to remain available to us until
3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah, it
And
should be up for 3 months. But again, and once that's finished, then it will ask you, and anytime you can download it, or if you don't have your own hosting, it will give you the option to send it to somewhere for that.
So we will get an alert before that.
You will.
Through email, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So
You're
I'm
welcome.
unsharing my screen.
Okay.
Shanta, I have a quick question about the Dragon Teach. Can I ask you?
Sure. And then I'll go over to CC.
I went through the steps. Up to this information, I put username, password, everything. The next page in the setup class is asking me for password. The password is required for this class. And I type the password, it shows in clear text. Usually it should be a star. But the password I type in is incorrect.
Okay, what password are you putting into that?
The password that
No, the password for the class is WAPU.
Yeah.
Can you spell it, please?
I'll type it in again to the chat.
It's in the beginning of the chat as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Oops,
yeah. I sent that to the wrong person. Sorry about that. Because what that does is it stops anybody who isn't registered for or who should not be registered for the class. It just doesn't allow them to register 100 domains, right? So
Okay.
it's the overall password for the course, which is WAPU.
And what is the, I
Oh.
don't know how did this come up. The Udemy courses popped up during my attempt here. Were they linked somewhere when we were
They're on the
registering for the class?
They're on the frequently asked questions page, so
Oh,
you probably
okay.
have to just go back to the
Oh,
page.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Got it. So they are
apologize.
not related. So they're not related to this tutorial.
No, originally this was for a Udemy course, which is no longer available.
Oh,
So no, that trust me,
got
that
it.
shouldn't be. I apologize. I'll make sure that that's
Fine.
corrected. Mhm.
Okay. Makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
password worked, and what's next after to create a domain? After set up,
You should then have access. So now you should be able to go to your domain, whatever name you chose, whatever that domain is, /WP-admin. And you should be able to go ahead and do that. And then it should take you to your web space where you can log in with your username and password. And you should also get an email that gives you all of these details as well.
okay, I'll check. my
Okay.
email. Yeah, thank you.
Cece, over to you. Thanks for being so patient.
No problem. I think maybe you may have just answered the question, but I have the URL and I have a profile, but I don't have like any menu in the dashboard or anything. So what do I do at this stage?
So you're on the domain itself, whatever your blah, blah, blah dot website or whatever,
Yeah.
/WP-admin. So here, let me,
Okay. And then I log in.
exactly. Yeah.
WP admin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See,
So
I am
for-
I
Mhm.
am logged in, but I don't have. But there's no. I can't edit anything, or can I show
Okay.
you my screen?
If you're logging into the shanta.dragonteach.com site, that's not your site. That's the instructor's
Correct.
site. That's Shanta's site.
Okay.
What you should have got is when you signed up with a domain name, you would have got an email saying, here's your information about your site. One of them will be like http:// your name.dragonteach.me. Or Shanta can find it for you.
So this one here, for example,
Okay. I got that email, and I can
so
see.
this is your website, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yep.
And then,
How do I edit it?
so you type in WP-admin at the
Okay.
end.
Okay.
Now you log in.
Using what credentials?
The credentials that you entered when you first registered for the site, which should be whatever username and password you chose when you first registered.
Okay.
Okay. And if you still have a problem with that, by all means, let me know and I'll happily reset it for you. You can shoot me an email and I'll reset it for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And the thing is, you should even be able to just go lost your password at the bottom here and just use the same email address and it should resend it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, I did have a question about the secondary menu.
Sorry, about the secondary.
The secondary menu.
Okay. The secondary menu. Yeah.
So, do you know sometimes when you've got your main menu with all of your different menu topics, like home, about, etc., and there's one that goes above that where you can have like a login or the phone number or like
Mhm.
is that a secondary menu, the one at the top?
It depends on the theme.
Okay.
Right now, for example, the secondary menu for this one, right? I would have to double check even where it is. It's probably right at the bottom. See this here?
Oh,
This is my secondary menu.
I see.
And that will move. And again, that's what they've called it by the theme. The theme has said the primary menu. This is what there's the two menus are called, primary and secondary.
Mm-hmm.
For this theme, the primary menu is going to be at the top here.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary menu is going to be right at the bottom.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so that would, in this case, in your case, that would be above your footer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Or
And
it may even form part of the footer.
oh, I see. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, because the one I think I'm using either 2020 or 2021, that the footer,
Mhm.
those icons are in the footer. It's a widget that becomes, you can put in the footer.
So usually if you set a menu, unless you have specifically said to put it into a widget area, it should not add it to a widget area.
Okay.
Okay. So if you want, I can really quickly test this theory because I had it up earlier. So
Okay.
do not try this at home, kids. Okay. If I go to my themes, so there's the 2021 that's active. I don't think I have 2020 installed. So I'm going to activate the 2020. I'm going to go back to my menus. I have more than enough menus. Look at what happened there. I have a horizontal menu. I have an expanded menu for this is probably what Yusuf you were talking about. This is probably the one you have installed is the 2020. 2020 has apparently 5 different menu locations. Who knew? The desktop expanded menu, which is probably, Kara, what you're talking about is if I'm on a desktop and I click on something in the primary menu, it's now going to give me a secondary. That's a lot as far as I'm concerned. The mobile menu, the footer menu, right? So that's probably where you're going. So now if I refresh my site, this is what it looks like now. So my main menu is up here. And there's my
Secondary.
my secondary menu, and it's actually above the widget area.
I like that. Actually.
Because the search I think is actually in the widgets. It should be, at least as far as I remember. At least for this theme. Again, depends on the theme. So does that make sense?
It does, but so you clicked on 2021, but you have 2020 loaded. Doesn't that mess it up?
What messes up?
So if you switch from one theme to the next, will everything still align?
No.
No, eh?
No, not by default. Well, here's the other thing. You see how it's assumed that the primary menu, when I switch themes, actually put it in the desktop horizontal menu. That's fine. But you'll notice that the footer menu, because it was the secondary menu in the other theme, is translating over to the footer menu. There's actually a social menu, which I think is when I had it on 2020 before, that's where it should have been. So let's see what happens. I have a social menu, and I'm going to put the social icons in that menu. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to save the changes. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to refresh. That is my social menu.
Oh, so it gives you the icons and okay.
And what if you now switch back or reactivate the 2021? What is going to be the fate of this extra menu?
That's my
It'll
other
disappear
question.
because it doesn't have its own social menu. It has a primary and a secondary. That's it.
So you can revert back.
And then after that, if you come back here, this will automatically come back.
Well, let me show you what's in the social menu.
Right.
All these are links. That's it. By specifying in this particular theme, by specifying that it is a social menu, and by putting those links in, it's automatically saying, okay, so if this is Instagram, you're going to show an Instagram logo, right?
Got it.
There isn't an option for a social menu by default in the 2021. They've chosen that. Again, this is where it's important to understand what your theme does by default.
So now if you go back and reactivate 2021, this will disappear, right? But after that, if you come back and reactivate this 2020, will this reappear or it will have to be retweaked?
Good question.
The social menu. So that will give us like a big umbrella.
So there you go.
Scenario.
So it picked up that.
Right.
So now when I go back to the Other theme.
But sorry, can you refresh the home page first before you reactivate? Perfect. Go to the top. Perfect. So now you go back and reactivate 2020.
Should keep the options in theory.
In theory.
In theory.
Come on, you know how that trouble's gotten us. Come on.
Okay.
So there you
Now
go.
the locations. Go to the location, manage locations.
Yeah, it's right. It's
Oh,
here as
sorry.
well. Just so you know.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Okay.
But
Okay, so it retains whatever was applicable in this theme and wherever it was left last time it was
correct.
active.
Correct.
Perfect. Perfect. So it's like whatever is applicable from one theme to the other that carries over. And when you revert back, again, same thing happens. Anything which is common between two.
Careful. Not necessarily anything.
Okay.
Menus, yes.
Right. I mean, in
For
terms
the
of this
scope of what
menus,
we're talking
obviously.
about, yes.
In terms of these menus, I meant. So
Yes.
whatever is common and same or similar, that gets carried over. Everything else you will see.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. These are some interesting questions. Hey, live testing. Where's Al? Never go live.
One question. Now I can log into Dragon Teach,
Yep.
my web page. It
Mhm.
doesn't support SSL. My browser complains about SSL. Is that right? Doesn't support SSL?
Dragon Teach should totally have SSL.
Sure.
Kira
So the
servers are
SS
set to default that.
They're actually not set to default.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It defaults to unsecure because what happens is it takes somewhere between 5 minutes and an hour to actually generate a new SSL certificate. So once that happens, you won't get errors with the SSL any longer.
So should I do something to enable SSL?
No, it should just it will eventually work.
It just takes a bit of time.
Okay.
Sorry, I just know that Kira has that stuff sort of set up, but you're right. If it's generating a new site, it may take some time. So thank you.
Yeah, I kind of chose not to send people to the SSL, number one, because it's a learning site and it's not really that important for a site that isn't going to be a live site.
Mhm.
But in addition to that, it's that big error message that pops up and everybody goes, whoa, right? So
Yeah, I get it.
Thank you.
Any other questions so far? Did we answer everything? Oh my God.
One quick one, when we
for it.
save it, because I'm going to use this and then I'm going to put it on my SiteGround, do we need a plugin so that we can download all of this and then upload it to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of so you will be able to, now Kira, and you can answer this for me, is Updraft installed by default?
no, I don't think that,
Okay.
unless you set that up, because it would be.
I might have actually, yes. So you're right. So Amory, what happens is that Kira's system allows the instructor to set a default template.
Okay.
I believe in my template as the class, I specified to have Updraft Plus installed.
Okay.
Not configured.
Right.
It's free, so it's not costing you anything. However, let me be clear. If you are migrating what you're using, the migration part of that tool, and for most of the migration tools, there is usually a paid service that you need.
Okay.
Okay. Or you need to be able to be like, you know, Rick and Kira and those guys and just do search and replace everywhere. WP-CLI for the win on that one. So you'll at least have a copy. Like that's
Okay.
what we're about on that one. But it should, I think it should have it. Yeah.
Okay,
It
great.
appears that you have it set up to install that.
I figured as much. Yeah.
Okay.
Because what we wanted instructors to be able to do, or what Kira wanted instructors to be able to do is to define those templates, like a particular theme or whatever. And the reason that we didn't force that upon anybody is that they are testing out different, you know, they may say, you know what, okay, so go find a backup plugin, or like it's part of the learning, right? So anyway. Yeah.
Because also I'm using InfluencerSoft to set up my CRM.
Okay.
And they have landing page software where they said that I could import this landing page on the home page of my WordPress site, which I don't know how to do that, but I'm learning. I'm taking trainings on Tuesday nights. So I really just need a simple little site. So I might just be able to replicate it manually
Absolutely.
very quickly.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And like I said, those should be live until about April. So you've got a few months. And that's what I'm saying is it's not meant to be originally, like I said, I'd set this up for my Udemy course and then I just took the Udemy thing down. So anything that has to do with Udemy, I apologize if it's still embedded in there, but the goal here was basically just to say, look, if you don't have a staging site, especially for what we're doing, I didn't want people to be, futzing around with their live site. Like no, couldn't do it. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good software out there to do teaching classes software. So,
but how many of them will let instructors teach you WordPress in their own installations?
Oh, you mean to install WordPress?
Mm.
I think InfluencerSoft does, and then there's one from
sorry, are they teaching WordPress though? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I teach WordPress. That's why I use Dragon Teach, because I can just send all my students there. They can register and they basically get their own installation of WordPress. So they can screw around with it. They can develop on it. They can do whatever,
I see
right?
what you're
So that's
saying.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Dragon Teach platform is specifically designed for people who teach WordPress.
Aha. Got it.
Specifically for that purpose. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you should chat with Kira about that if you want.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And again, that's the only reason I'm touting it is because because I use it. So yeah. Any other questions or comments about anything? Okay.
This has made so much more sense to me than anything else I've ever done.
That's great, Grace. Yay!
I know I might actually be seeing the light here, eh?
Yay!
After all this time.
Well, especially when you posted onto the Meetup saying that you wanted to delete your site. I'm like, why? No, why? After all this time?
Because I don't even know what I've done, and it's not how I want it to be.
Okay.
But it's not live until I click publish, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Nobody else will see my big mess.
There you go. Sandra, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Is the classic editor plugin going to be abandoned in a certain amount of time?
I haven't heard anything to that effect. Has anyone else?
I did hear that somewhere. Like in 2 years or a year or something, you won't be able to use it anymore. So just wondered if anybody had heard.
What's that, Rick?
Officially, it's the end of this year, but they did say that they would evaluate this year as to whether or not to extend it. But the official date still from the 2018 post is the end of this year.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks.
They haven't really been making many changes to it in the last while. So even though it won't officially be supported, I would expect it'll continue to work.
Okay.
I also think they're going to get so much grief from so many people that they're going to have to keep maintaining it past the end of the year personally, but
I agree.
We shall see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, Rick Radko is one of the organizers for the Ottawa meetup, and Paul's also in from Ottawa as well.
Yeah, my one worry with the classic editor is some of the changes they're making to Gutenberg may make it hard to implement.
Yeah, it's possible.
Quick question about this plugin question. I mean, related to this one, is it like any other software or the operating system that we use on computers? If it's not going to be supported by the vendor anymore, you are supposed to stop using it just based on the security risks? Is the same kind of concept in here? When, for example, this classic plugin goes out of service, should we move to something else? Is that what it means?
Yes, in theory. The point is that if you're going to use something, WordPress will usually warn you and say that this plugin is no longer supported,
right?
Or it's been abandoned, or it's out of date by 2 years or whatever. that kind of stuff. So yeah, it will usually warn you of that kind of thing. And then it's basically your own risk. You can either continue to use it, it will potentially break. You know, who knows, right? It's kind of buyer beware at that point.
Got it.
Right.
It's
That's
better
why
to
when
start
we
looking
are having
for
a lot of
some
these conversations, we want to
sign.
make sure that whatever it is that you're using, or and everybody has their own opinion. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
There's no one right answer. However, so I think, you know, what I usually try and propose are things that are at least in the WordPress repository, first and foremost. Then if you're going outside of that, well, then that's another matter. So at least as far as many of the WordPress chapters will go, like meetups like this, I would hope that they are at least going with that kind of level head.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Anyone else?
I did have one other question.
Go for it, Kara. We have probably time for one more.
Okay. So on my blog page, you know how you have the main blog page and then the post page where you see all of the blogs individually, that's set up. And then the main page has the links to those posts. I can't get the main page to come up. Is that how it works? I've got two of them actually, and only one is showing up. So I don't know what it's called or how is it supposed to be called a certain thing, or I don't know where to find it. Let me just put it that way.
So is this based on what I showed you in the original presentation?
No.
Oh, okay.
Similar. I'm wondering if it's a menu issue.
Okay.
You know where you showed us how you'd make one your static homepage?
Yes.
Then the other one is a post page.
Right.
So where mine has the option for the post page, the drop down doesn't show both of them. It only shows the main one. It doesn't show the secondary, like the one where all the posts are.
Can you share your screen for me? Is that possible? Are you okay with that?
Let me see. Hang on. No.
No? Okay, that's fine. Don't worry. Okay, I'm just trying to understand. So there's two. I'll tell you what. Let me show you my screen, and then we can maybe go from there. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. So let's go with this. Okay, so let's go back to menus. And customize. Okay. So what I was doing was the homepage settings.
Yeah.
And there was the latest posts, which looks like this.
Right.
Right. And then if I choose a static page, I then have to just determine which homepage or what page I want as my homepage.
Okay.
And then which one I want as the posts page.
Right. So that part where it says post page, mine only gives me one option. I don't get the whole drop down.
Have you created and published any other pages?
Yeah, the site is live. It's already published.
Right. So so all I did was click on add a new page.
Okay.
And I created right here in this interface post page.
Is there a template for that post page so that it looks
it's probably based on the original, like it's probably based on this.
Okay.
Because the idea, at least as far as I know, is, well, at least the way that I've done it. Let's put it like that. That doesn't mean it has to be that way. But the idea here is that I've chosen a static page. But if you actually go to that post page, like if I go to, I'm okay with this. So now if I actually go to my pages, you'll notice that this says post page.
Yeah. Yeah, mine says that. Yeah.
I didn't add that.
Okay.
All of this, like the custom fields and everything else.
Yeah.
Right? It actually says here, you are currently editing the page that shows your latest posts.
See, I don't get that either. I don't know if it's mine.
What are you seeing on your page though?
Just the back. Okay, so you know where you were first before this one? I just see that that's what I see. And then you get the quick link, the edit and all. Yeah, right there where you hover. Yeah, I get that. And then it opens up like the block style page that you started off the webinar with.
So to me, what I would start with is a brand new page.
Okay.
And then, because if you're using an existing page, maybe there's a conflict.
Yeah,
right?
I'm thinking, yeah, you're probably right there.
So what I would suggest is, and whether you add the page here, just a brand new page with nothing on it,
Yeah.
or you do it through the interface that I did, like through the customizer,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter to me. But I would say start with the idea of start with a brand new page that doesn't have any content on it, because you'll notice it doesn't have an editor.
Okay.
Right? When I go to my post page, if I go to my about me, which is the one that we started with, this is what I see. This is my visual editor. That's exactly what I see.
Okay.
Right? But if I go back and I look at the post page, because I have told it this is my post page, it's automatically generating that in the background.
Oh.
So when I go to edit, I shouldn't see an editor here. It should not let me edit it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because it's automatically being generated by the CMS, the Content Management System.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a bit more sense.
Okay. I mean, there are some that will say, you know what, I want to see the posts, below, and that's fine. I get it.
So is it
But
better
start
to
with this at least.
do it there, because if you do it in the customized part, it asks you to publish. Oh no, that's a drop down. You can do draft as well, right? Save draft. Like the page where you were before, where it had the make it a static page, the one before this one.
Oh yeah, in the customizer.
Yeah. The main link is published, or the main, right at the very top,
sorry,
right?
Wrong one. Oops.
But I think that's a drop down that you can, okay.
There,
Okay,
and then this.
Yeah.
The page has to be published.
Okay.
Otherwise it won't let you. So that's why when I'm doing this, when I'm specifically saying this is the page I want all my posts to go on to, if I'm literally setting up just like we did here, that is exactly why I just say from here, add a new page.
Okay.
Because it will automatically set up the page and it will publish it.
Okay.
Okay. And as you saw, when I went back, obviously by just creating it here, it's not, there is no editor before I've created that page. As soon as I've said this page is not only going to be created, but it is also going to become my posts page, then it will say, oh, okay, then I shouldn't be allowed to edit this, which is true because it's automatically generating that page. Or it's automatically generating the contents on the page.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
A bit more. I'll have to see it live.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can do this again. It shouldn't take too much if you want.
Oh no, on mine. I'll have to see what it looks like on mine because my
on your site. Okay. Again, what I would do is just as a test, go through your customizer, go to that page where it says the homepage settings.
Yeah.
And when you select a static page as your home page, you should get the second drop down and then say, okay, so what page do you want to be your posts page?
Got it. Okay.
Create a brand new page right there.
Okay. Got it.
That's what I would start with and see if you still run into the same error.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. I think we're going to call it. Now, the question is who's going to volunteer to write this sucker up? Because I still haven't gotten an answer on that one, I don't think. Oh, and somebody else drops off the call. Of course they do. As soon as you ask for volunteers, somebody else has got to go, right? Naturally. Anyway. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here. If anybody is interested in volunteering, I'm happy to listen. I haven't checked, obviously, my email. If anybody has submitted on WP Hamont /volunteer, that would be absolutely lovely. /volunteer. So if you want to go here, you can volunteer and just tell us what you want to do, because honestly, it's because I haven't even posted the stuff from the last one. I'm behind on about 2 or 3 of them. So if anybody's interested in even taking a stab at content writing, sure, I'll take a volunteer for sure. Okay. So if anybody's interested in that, happy to hear that. Did I answer? Yeah, run for the hills. Thanks, Paul. If anybody else has any other questions, we're happy to hear them. Hopefully we will see some of you on Slack if you're not already there. And a bunch of us are already there, and we can help, not just with WordPress, but of course, when you get to Slack, if you've never used it before, it's really simple. A little bit overwhelming at first, but honestly, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. So